Ladies, gentlemen, and honored distinguished guests, welcome to Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton's 82nd anniversary Evening Colors Ceremony. Today's pre-ceremony music was provided by 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band. And now, please rise for the invocation given by Chaplain William Stewart, Captain, United States Navy. We ask that you remain standing for the presentation of colors, the playing of the national anthem, and honors to the Commanding General of Marine Corps Installations West, Marine Corps Base, Camp Pendleton, Brigadier General Nick Brown.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I invite you to pray with me. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you with much thankfulness on this very special occasion of evening colors. We thank you for the wonderful cool weather you have given us and the realization that we are indeed present on one of the most incredible and historical marine installations in the entire world. Lord, as we continue on with this event, we ask that you grant each of us a time of deep reflection on the sacrifices made by so many who have traversed this very sod, and those who proudly continue the tradition of serving our wonderful nation still today. Help us remember to never take anything for granted, not our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, not those who have gone from this place and served, many making the ultimate sacrifice, and not our families, past and present, who proudly stand beside us, both near and far as we serve. God, we ask for your special blessing on Camp Pendleton. Bless all of the people who serve and work here and support this great base, and bless our amazing nation and the freedom it provides us. It is in your holy name that we pray all of these things. Amen.
The Commanding General of Marine Corps Installations West, Marine Corps Base, Camp Pendleton, Brigadier General Nick Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. At this time, the command would like to recognize and welcome our distinguished military guests attending this evening ceremony. Major General Tony Jackson and Mrs. Sue Jackson, and Brigadier General Patrick Tiernan. We would also like to recognize and welcome our distinguished government officials in attendance. San Clemente Mayor Pro Tem Mark Enmeyer, San Clemente City Council Member Chris Duncan, Murrieta City Council Member Ron Holliday. From the office of Congressman Mike Levin, Keon Malwia. From the office of State Senator Catherine Blakespeare, Maya Munier. And from the office of State Assembly Member Lori Davis, Ryan Ewart. From police and fire agencies, Chief Keith McReynolds from the North County Fire Protection District. And the many veterans associations, nonprofit organizations, and foundations that are a part of our Marine Corps family. Since 1942, San Diego County has been home to Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. General Joseph H. Pendleton stated in 1915 that the United States should have a permanent Marine advanced base station in this most advantageous location, in this most strategically and climatically perfect situation. Enamored with the possibilities of this region, he envisioned an advanced base force located here and maintained in constant readiness to move to any area at any time. This would be the forerunner of the present-day Fleet Marine Force. Before its establishment, Camp Pendleton was first considered in the late 1930s when the Marine Corps scouted the region for adequate training areas. The Department of the Navy acquired approximately 130,000 acres of Rancho Santa Margarita Las Flores land, especially desirable for its vast, undeveloped acreage and varied terrain. For the Department of the Navy finally bought it for just over $4 million in 1943. The area's strategic location, with 18 miles of coastline and terrain of foothills, valleys, streams, and canyons, was ideal to fulfill the Navy's immediate need to train 20,000 Marines in amphibious warfare. Under the command of future Commandant Colonel Lemuel Shepard, the 9th Marine Regiment, reinforced by 1st Battalion, 12th Marine Regiment, completed a 4-day march from Camp Elliott in San Diego to be the first troops to occupy the new West Coast training base. On September 25, 1942, those same Marines stood at attention as President Franklin D. Roosevelt officially dedicated Marine Corps Base Joseph H. Pendleton. With an approximate daily population of 80,000, Camp Pendleton is one of the Department of Defense's busiest installations. Located approximately 38 miles north of San Diego and 82 miles south of Los Angeles, Camp Pendleton has been the largest employer in North County for over 80 years, with more than 42,000 Marines, sailors, and their families calling it home. It hosts the 1 Marine Expeditionary Force, Marine Corps Installations West Regional Command, Naval Hospital Camp Pendleton, and the Navy's Assault Craft Unit 5, in addition to many other Fleet Marine Force training and tenant commands. Camp Pendleton is not only home to military operations, service members, and families, but to wildlife as well. Wildlife and land preservation is a top concern for all who live, work, and train on this installation. The ecosystem, beaches, bluffs, mountains, and Southern California's only free-flowing river are safe havens for the more than 1,000 species of plants, fish, and animals that live here, to include 19 endangered or threatened species. Camp Pendleton Wildlife enjoyed the largest undeveloped portion of coastline in Southern California. As the largest West Coast amphibious assault training facility, Camp Pendleton encompasses more than 125,000 acres of Southern California. Over 17 miles of undeveloped coastline and mountainous terrain to support a variety of military training for our operating forces, as well as national, state, and local agencies. Having uninterrupted airspace allows the multiple rotary wing squadrons assigned here unmatched training opportunities with various ground units. That airspace along the ranges also supports artillery and mortar firing, in addition to large-scale combined training evolutions involving naval, ground, and aviation forces. This allows Marines to train as they fight. This training cannot be duplicated to this scale anywhere else in the country. Camp Pendleton's importance to the defense of the nation and the readiness of our forces forward deployed in every clime and place is unparalleled. Camp Pendleton provides integral training and support necessary to sustain America's expeditionary force in readiness. We believe in our responsibility to maintain professionalism, dedication, and operational excellence in all facets of our mission. We take pride in serving Marines, sailors, and their families. President Franklin D. Roosevelt established this base in honor of Major General Joseph H. Pendleton, a man who knew the importance of creating a West Coast Marine Corps base to train and maintain a force in readiness for the protection of the United States. Tonight, we commemorate the 82nd anniversary of Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. Ladies and gentlemen, the flag detail provided by Headquarters and Support Battalion, Marine Corps Installations West, Marine Corps Base, Camp Pendleton, will now take their position. Ladies and gentlemen, Brigadier General Brown.
Good evening, everyone. How's everybody doing? All right. A little louder than that. Good evening, everyone. All right. And welcome to another beautiful Southern California evening. We're spoiled in that regard. It is a special evening because we get to come together to take part in an important and enduring part of Camp Pendleton's legacy. Now, before I begin, I just want to acknowledge a few folks that make these things special, and that is the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band and the Mounted Color Guard. They bring a touch of class, a touch of precision, a touch of discipline to everything we do. The Mounted Color Guard does it all over the country. Sergeant Major and I had a chance to go up to Barstow about 2 weeks ago to visit the Mounted Color Guard. Went into their trophy room, and I quickly realized that I'm going to have to talk to my facilities folks because we need to build a new building to put all of their trophies. They are special. And Sergeant Major and I got to ride a horse, too. I think it's Pellaloo. He may be the one on the end, but he took good care of us, didn't throw us. So really appreciate that. And 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band, they always sound crisp. They're always special. I heard them singing at the reception. And they are what we expect from our best Marines. So please, let's give them a round of applause. To the volunteers that make this happen, I told them about a week ago, every hour that we're here, it's about a month's worth of planning and preparation. We came here yesterday, and this was coming together. So the volunteers, the docents that gave us the tours, Dee Cook, who puts her stamp of excellence on everything she does. You know, we don't go forward until Dee says we're ready. So Dee, thank you very much. And but everyone that makes this happen, from the military police that guide us in to everyone that makes this special, thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done. Please, let's give volunteers a round of applause as well. To our many distinguished guests, Generals, General Tiernan, General Jackson, Sergeants Majors, Commanders, public officials, educators, fellow Marines and sailors, families, and especially our Gold Star parents here that are here with us tonight. I am honored to be in your presence, to observe a timeless and important tradition that symbolizes our core values and our nation's heritage. The Marines that you see behind me represent the nation's finest and bravest. Men and women who swore an oath, many of them swore that oath when they were teenagers, to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's a heavy commitment for a teenager in a dangerous world, but one they took willingly. Like many before them, they stand facing us with steel resolve, ready to defend Old Glory on that pole and the ideals that it represents. So Marines, thank you for who you are. As noted in the earlier narration, before Camp Pendleton was dedicated in 1942, Marines were omnipresent in San Diego. They were everywhere. Probably cutting up the town like they do now. Nothing's changed. But considering that they operated out of Marine barracks at Balboa, they later served at what was known as Marine Corps Base San Diego, which we know today as the Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego. We're fortunate that then Colonel Pendleton saw the strategic significance of having Marines in San Diego, but also knew the strategic significance of having a larger permanent base here in California. History may not reveal this, but I would surmise that he and the commandant seized the initiative when the Army passed on this plot of land, and they went up to Fort Irwin in 1940. If you've seen Fort Irwin, if you Google Fort Irwin, what's gonna come up on your screen is just a tan screen with maybe a little small cactus off the top right. That's Fort Irwin, it's terrible. So every time you see a soldier on Camp Pendleton, especially if you run into one at Del Mar, just remind them, hey, this could have been yours. But we're happy to be here. By the spring of 1942, when the Navy announced the purchase of lands around Camp Pendleton, which included this beautiful ranch house and chapel, it may have been difficult for anyone at that time to imagine that one day, the most advanced aircraft and skilled pilots would be operating just a quarter-mile away behind us. That 1st Marine Division would establish numerous camps along that northern corridor, where its iconic regiments and battalions would make history fighting and winning the Marine Corps' toughest battles. And as logistics commands could support a lightning march to Baghdad of an entire Marine expeditionary force to topple one of the world's most notorious dictators. And they would have found it all but impossible to imagine the extensive weight of the decisions that had to be made on this very property by senior leaders to deploy our warriors in protection of our freedoms year after year after year. The impact that Camp Pendleton would have on our national defense and preparing Marines for success in battle and life are undeniable. The relationship Camp Pendleton would enjoy with the surrounding communities since its dedication will be the envy of every military community in America. I can tell you there's nothing quite like it. I would like to invite Marine Corps Base Pendleton's senior enlisted leader, Sergeant Major Sherry Cook, to provide her reflections on that relationship and those impacts.
Thank you, General. Good evening. I am honored to be here this evening. Yeah, can you hear me now? Okay, all right, thank you. I'm honored here to be here with you today. I represent 80,000 Marines and sailors, civilians, family members that live, work, train, and call Camp Pendleton home. A base that is one of America's environmental treasures, with 18 miles of pristine coastline that separates San Diego County from southern sprawls of Los Angeles. But even more important, a base that has served as a proving ground for generations of our nation's toughest warriors for 82 years and counting. Camp Pendleton is a rally point for current and veteran Marines who call Horno, Las Pulgas, or San Mateo their second home. A place that warriors, young and old, can reflect on the triumphs and toughest moments. It is a place that our Marines love because Camp Pendleton has a way of loving them back. I'm especially proud of the long and unbreakable bond that Camp Pendleton shares with you, our faithful community. You have been there during every conflict, taking care of our families when we were deployed and welcoming us back with open arms. From deployments to World War II and the Korean War, to our return home from Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan, you have always been there to support our Marines and sailors, even in helping us to build beautiful memorials throughout the base we would never forget our fallen heroes. For 82 years, you've never tired, and you've never stopped serving Marines, and for that, we are eternally grateful. To the Marines and sailors standing with us tonight, this event marks your place in history. You are the guardians of our proud legacy. You are the victors, and it's not an option to do that. Always remember the profound responsibility that you carry. Your actions both on and off the battlefield, here on Camp Pendleton and in our communities. Reflect on the values of honor, courage, and commitment that your colors represent. Camp Pendleton only exists because the American people trust us. We will never fail them. Semper Fidelis. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Sergeant Major. When President Roosevelt arrived on the 25th of September 1942 to dedicate Camp Pendleton, accompanied by First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt and Mrs. Mary Fay Pendleton, one could only imagine how he must have felt. It was only 9 months since the attacks on Pearl Harbor when he was here. By then, the Japanese had attacked the Philippines, Guam, Wake Island, Midway Island, and Hong Kong. The whole nation was at war, and the Guadalcanal campaign was raging, led by 1st Marine Division Commander, Major General Alexander Vandergrift, and distinguished by the heroism of Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone, 2 Medal of Honor recipients, which 2 of our major roads are here on Camp Pendleton are appropriately named. One could only assume that right here, on these grounds in 1942, that President Roosevelt, as Commander-in-Chief, must have felt a sense of uncertainty and anxiety, perhaps, about world events. But I believe that he came here to Camp Pendleton on that day with the same resolve that he had 8 months earlier during his address to Congress on 8 December 1941, just 1 day after the attack on Pearl Harbor, when he said, and I'm going to quote from his speech, "No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory. I believe that I interpret the will of the Congress and of the people when I assert that we will not only defend ourselves to the uttermost, but we will make it very certain that this form of treachery shall never again endanger us." I have no doubt that those words reflect what President Roosevelt was thinking right here in 1942. And he likely left Camp Pendleton after that visit feeling a sense of comfort, knowing that his Marines now had a base to prepare itself for future fights. And I can only assume that most people in this very audience felt the same sense of uncertainty and anxiety right here during the 59th anniversary of Camp Pendleton, which was only 2 weeks after the 9/11 attacks, where our nation in its resolve would mobilize the Marines of Camp Pendleton again, to use Roosevelt's words, to make certain that this form of treachery shall never again endanger us. Camp Pendleton's Marines succeeded in that goal, with some of our heroes making the ultimate sacrifice to ensure that we all could be here safely tonight to lower our flag for the evening. I'll close by making one guarantee, that after our flag is lowered here in a couple of minutes, that at 0800 tomorrow, sharp, colors will echo through this base, and every Marine, sailor, and civilian on Camp Pendleton will stop. They will come to the position of attention. Those that are wearing their covers will salute smartly as the flag rises again over this ranch house and at 25 other sites across this base. After the carry on is sounded, Marines will move out and do the work necessary to be most ready when our nation is least ready. Those Marines, like many before them, will ensure that we all return right here next year, same place, same time, to commemorate our 83rd year of national resolve and preparedness. So on behalf of your Sergeant Major and all the Marines and sailors that make Camp Pendleton a special place, please accept my gratitude for all that you do and all that you are. Thank you for being part of an honored tradition. May God bless you, our nation, and keep our United States Marine Corps. Semper Fidelis.
General George Washington requested the Continental colors be hoisted on a towering 76-foot Liberty pole at Prospect Hill in Charlestown. On June 14, 1777, in order to establish an official flag for the new nation, the Continental Congress passed the first Flag Act, resolving that the flag of the United States be made of 13 stripes, alternate red and white, that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. The layout of the stars was left undefined, and many patterns were used by flag makers. The design of the flag, most likely Congressman Francis Hopkinson, a signer of the Declaration of Independence from Philadelphia, may have had a ring of stars in mind to symbolize the new constellation. Today, that pattern is popularly known as the Betsy Ross flag, although the widely circulated story that she made the first stars and stripes and came up with the ring pattern is unsubstantiated. The Stars and Stripes changed on May 1st, 1795, when Congress enacted the second flag resolution, which mandated that new stars and stripes be added to the flag where new states were admitted to the Union. This new version, flown at Fort McHenry in September 1814, was the inspiration for the patriotic poem that later supplied the lyrics of the national anthem. In 1818, after 5 more states had been admitted, Congress enacted the third and last flag resolution, requiring that, henceforth, the number of stripes should remain 13. The number of stars should always match the number of states, and any new star should be added on the July 4th of the following state's admission. This has been the system ever since. In all, from 1777 to 1960, after the admission of Hawaii in 1959, there were 27 versions of the Flag 25, involving changes in the stars only. An executive order signed by President William Howard Taft on October 29, 1912, standardizing for the first time the proportions and relative sizes of the elements of the flag. In 1934, the exact shades of color were also standardized. There is no official assignment of meaning or symbolism to the colors of the flag. However, Charles Thompson, Secretary of the Continental Congress, in describing the proposed Great Seal of the United States, suggested the following symbolism. White signifies purity and innocence. Red, hardiness and valor. And blue signifies vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of Anchors Aweigh and the Marines Hymn.